Hello, sixth grade. This is Mr. Kraft coming to you from my room at Cal as usual. The assignment today is more of what you've been doing, changing fractions to decimals and so forth, but it is using repeating decimals. And I talked about repeating decimals a little bit in my last video, but I want to go over it again just to make sure we're all clear on it, how that's supposed to work. So the first thing is, the denominator of a fraction is the bottom number, and certain denominators have a tendency to repeat, and those would be 3 and 6 and 7 and 9. 2, 4, 5, and 8 do not repeat. But if the denominator is 3, 6, 7, or 9, it very often will repeat. Now, I say often, not always. So if I had 3 over 6, well, that's the denominator that I've got here, but that reduces to 1 over 2, which is just 0.5, which does not repeat. Because if you didn't already know that half is 0.5, you could put the numerator, which is 1, inside the bracket, the denominator, which is 2, outside, and you would get 0.5. So those are exceptions. But generally, those types of things do tend to repeat. Okay, so take the simplest case with a repeater, 1 over 3. That's about as simple as you can get. The 1 is the numerator, it goes inside, and 3 goes outside, and you put a decimal after it as usual, and put a 0 here, a filler 0. And 3 times 3 is 9. And you see it's going to be 3 again. It's going to be 0.33333. So there's 2 ways that your book asks you to do this. The first set of problems, it says to indicate the repeaters. So in a case like this, you would say bar. You go to the first time it repeats and do that. You would not do 0.33333 bar. That would be kind of putting a whole bunch of stuff in you don't need to do there. You just do it where it is necessary. Whoops. So the first digit that repeats is what you put the bar over, and only the repeating digits. So for example, if you had 1 over 6, you would do this exactly the same way as you did 1 over 3, but the first digit does not repeat. 6 times 6 is 36. 6 from 10 is 4. So the 6 is what's going to repeat. So you're going to say 0.16. You have to be very careful that the bar goes only over the 6, because this is not the same thing as that. This means 0.16666 ... This here means 0.161616 ... And this here and that there are obviously, or I hope it's obvious, not the same thing. So you have to be careful. If you're sloppy and it looks like you put it over both, I'd count that wrong, because 0.16 barred and 0.16 barred are not the same thing. You bar only the repeating part. Okay, so now the second set of problems in your book says round to the nearest thousandth. So, to use these same numbers, tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths. You always have to go one place. You always have to go one place past the place you're rounding to. So that you'll know how to round it. So I'll give you a few seconds to put that in your notes if you want to. Go one place past the place you're rounding to, comma, so that you'll know how to round it. What do I mean? So let's go back. We said 1/3 equals repeating 3, and 1/6 equals 1 with a repeating 6. So you have the decimal, then you have tenths, then you have hundredths, thousandths, then 10,000ths. You're going to write this so that the book says round to nearest thousandth. So that means you're going to have to go one more place. Tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths. So I'm going to only take it this far. This guy is just to show me how to round. And I've said this to you before, but I'll say it again. This is how you remember it. So these are your rules for rounding. 5 and above, give it a shove. 4 and below, leave it alone. And it means the place past what you're rounding. So I'm rounding to the thousandth, so I look to the 10,000th place to tell me what to do with this guy. 4 and below, leave it alone. So it rounds to 3, 3, 3. And that's the answer the book wants on that. With 1/6, you're going to do the same thing. Tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths. In this case, you look at that guy. 5 and above, give it a shove. So it's 0.167. This knocks that up 1. So that is how that works. That's all you're doing. It does not have to be hard. So Let me show you another one here. Denominators of 7. 7's the bad boy. When you have something that repeats as a 7, it's really messy. So let's say 6 7s. Let's look at that. I'm going to put my 7 outside because the denominator goes outside. 6 goes inside. 7s go a long way before they repeat. That's why I'm putting a bunch of zeros in. Filler 0 over the 6. Okay. 8 times 7 is 56. Borrow from that, make that a 10. 10 minus 6 is 4. Drop the 0. 5 times 7 is 35. Borrow from that, make that a 10. 5. Drop the 0. 7 times 7 is 49. Borrow from that. 9 from 10 is 1. Drop the 0. 7 times 1 is 7. 7 from 10 is 3. Drop the 0. 7 times 4 is 28. Borrow from that. 8 from 10 is 2. Drop the 0. 2 times 7 is 14. Borrow from that. 4 from 10 is 6. And so finally, we're back to 6. The next 0, you're going to be back to 8. 8 times 7 is 56. So what that means is the whole crazy thing repeats. The bar goes over everything. 857,142. 857,142. That's what it would look like if you wrote it out. It would be 857,142. 857,142. 857,142. ... Which is pretty insane. But we would not actually write it that way. That would be kind of ridiculous. So, the thing about writing it in repeating form, like this, is you have to keep going until it repeats. And that can take you a while sometimes. Now, for what you'll be doing, you won't have anything worse than this, I don't think. For rounding to the thousandths place, well, that's where you have to know your place value. The third place after the decimal is your thousandths. And you have to look at this guy to see how the 7 rounds. 4 and below, leave it alone. 1 is obviously less than 4. So the 7 stays put. So this is much nicer looking than that. And it's a lot nicer looking than the way I wrote it down there as a repeater a few minutes ago. Okay, so I hope this clarifies for you what the book is asking you to do and how you can do repeating decimals, to write them either using the bar notation or by rounding them to the specified place. When I say the specified place, that's just a fancy way of saying round it to what the book tells you to do, and it's telling you to do it to the thousandth. I'll leave it at that for now, and I hope that makes things a little bit clearer. Bye.